Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Manopod podcast. Our special guest today is again becoming our friend, actually, Paulina Porizkova, known around the world as somebody who can do almost anything. And our other guest is David Meeks, a two-time Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who is part of Manopod.com and has a column called Meeks Week on Manopod.com. Check it out. They're hilarious articles. So welcome, you guys.
Thank you. Welcome.
And so, Paulina, we understand, we don't know how, but we understand that you've been writing a book with all the things that you're doing, including being on Beyond the Edge that's still on right now. You're writing a book. Tell us a little bit about what you're writing.
All right. So when I came back from Beyond the Edge, believe it or not, I'm not actually in the jungle right now, even though it looks like it on TV.
Yeah, look, there's birds behind you. I see birds.
But I'm happy because I know you survived and you made it home. So
That's right.
Thank
Oh,
you,
that's
David.
good.
That's so sweet of you. Like, I love that support.
yeah.
Anyway, so once I got back home to a book contract that had been talked about, but not quite put together. And I came back, and Maria Shriver has a new imprint on Penguin Random Books, and she asked me to write a book, and she asked me to write a book in 3 months. What do you think of that, David?
Yeah, I would say call me in to help renegotiate that deadline. I mean, here's your answer, Paulina. Does it need to be intelligible and worth anything, or you just want like a book?
Well, they didn't specify.
Yeah.
So I wrote stuff.
But
in 3 months.
that's the time to get an outline done and kind of work that over, I guess.
See, I love talking to a writer who understands what this kind of a deadline actually means, from beginning to end, 3 months.
Oh, Paulina, we just did largely a photo book with the PGA Tour and on the PGA Tour, and I remember the first draft of the outline for that book was 35 pages long.
This is that book, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
God, check that out.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Giant.
So, I mean, that's but here's what I want to know. What is the general theme? Is it a story of your life, autobiography?
Well, no, not really. Actually, the reason why I said yes was because Maria wanted, she follows me on Instagram, and she likes my take on the world and my worldview, and I sort of put down my thoughts and the way I feel and what I do, and she sort of wanted, I think, a version of that, but book form. Mm-hmm. And so me, not knowing any better, decided to turn that into personal essays. So that's what it is now. It's a book of personal essays.
Well, you know what? I think that's probably smart, because you want to, as you probably know, when you sit down to write, if you don't really know it, you don't really feel it, you don't really experience it, it's very, very hard to fake it, right? I mean, people try to create stories. That's why novels are difficult, but I think that's a good starting point. That's cool. So it'll be like, this will be things that people can read and kind of inspire them, would be the way I would put it, or just
well, I think it was
provoking.
I hope it's both, but since I wrote it in 3 months, I really can't tell you what it is.
So you actually finished it?
I actually finished
Holy
it.
crap.
And it's probably going to be fantastic.
Wow.
If it's fantastic, I should do this for a living.
Yeah. How many pages is it?
It's like 52,000 words. So
okay. All right. Well, that's reasonable.
It's a reasonable size book. It's not a mini book. And you know that old saying about writing is easy. You just sit down at your typewriter and open up a vein.
Yeah.
I always loved that, because that's me writing. I just sit down and I open the vein and I bleed all over, and that's how I approach it.
Even for the best, we all toured together the Hemingway home down in Key West, where he had his writing studio.
It's a must-see, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Yes, that's like the only reason I even went to Key West was.
He wrote in the mornings, and he had his own separate writing quarters in literally a separate building from the house, with a catwalk connecting them, and no one was allowed to come in there. He even had like a wire for his wife to send notes if she wanted to communicate with him because he found writing very difficult. I mean, he really did. I mean, the famous story that he cussed his editor, but said he'd be lost without him because I hate that bastard. But I couldn't do anything without him. I mean, he really understood the difficulty of doing it well. So that wasn't. I thought that was interesting to see that even Hemingway, it's not just flowing from a fountain. He's working at it.
Well, I mean, I think I'm so full of cliches right now. How many percent inspiration and how many percent perspiration is it supposed to be?
1% 99. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, just to mention, we're all drinking a little bit because it is Monday night and we're trying to start the week off right. So Paulina's drinking a little Sancière.
So is that just a lemonade or something, Mike? What is that?
No, this is a Sammy Hagar's Beach Bar cocktail. It's a rum drink, and I don't usually drink rum, but it's really good. So.
Well,
yeah, Mike has been getting happy from happier when the segment ends than when it began.
Yeah, I'm getting the best version of Mike.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely.
So you finished that book, and of course now it's got to go through editing, and they probably will send some stuff back to you, or
do you know when they're going to
the editing is almost done, actually. She just sent me the last few remaining essays to check over the edits. There's not
52,000 words would be, I mean, Larry, to give you an example, like that NFL thing I wrote, it'd be like 20 of those.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
but
good.
Still,
I think that's good. I think that's a great length for a book of essays.
And is that's your first big writing piece, right?
For
Paulina?
me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you don't consider me writing a novel being a big writing piece, sure.
Oh, but that's you're in the middle of that, right?
Say that again, Mike.
Are you you haven't finished the novel yet, have you?
No, that was published like 15 years ago. But...
So, like I said, you haven't finished it lately. So you finished it.
We should mention that one of the most important things about writing and podcasts is what's that word? Research. Yeah.
Well, you know how much I read, Larry. I did not know. Well, you know what? I'm such an idiot that I get to read it now. Where do I get it?
Probably like the sales bin at Amazon.
Yeah. What's the title of? Well, let's start here. I want to give Mike a clue. What's the title of the book?
Paulina.
Would you like me to tell him the title of the book?
Yes.
There's no other way he'll ever get it. I mean,
once I say it, it's going to be kind of obvious. It's called A Model Summer.
Oh, clever.
Intriguing.
You know what?
Wow.
I will say this.
David's read it.
If it's not a murder mystery, it could be.
There you go. No, it could be interesting. It could also, it could relate to a whole host of different possibilities of summer modeling.
Yes.
Airplanes, cars. But having been written by me, it probably pertains to one thing.
That is a tip-off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we revise it now? Now that hundreds of thousands of people are going to watch this podcast, and I'm going to look like the idiot. Let's try to redeem myself a little bit and try to remarket it. Let's call it A Long Summer's Model Dream or something. What about that?
Right.
Wow, Sammy Hagar is going to be very happy you're drinking his drink.
Yes.
You are.
Sammy Hagar. I mean,
David, why don't you weigh in on Mike's
let me ask you this, Mike. Did that drink you have come with a shovel for the hole you're digging?
Let's save Mike from this. And let's go to another topic.
It's with me. Look,
now that you have the bug,
yeah,
because you do get the bug. Once you start writing, it does kind of begin to, stimulate you to do that. Do you have more things you want to write? More ideas? More,
I have a great one. How about Out on the Town with David Meeks? I mean, these guys live in California. I'm on the East Coast.
Right. You're right. We are both East Coasters.
We can figure out. We can meet in Philly. We can go out on the town. I'm telling you, do something. We'll just make something fun out of it, or make some good works we'll do with it, or something. It'd be great.
I think the
that's
next.
a splendid idea. I think I'm totally on board. I mean, I would have a thing or 20 to learn from you, David.
Well, I like charity things are always fun. So, I mean, that'd be cool to do because then you could kind of do little snippets of it. You could put on Instagram or put on Manopod, and people would love that. I mean, it's people.
Are you calling her a charity case?
No.
You said I like doing charity after she said I can learn a lot from you.
Yeah.
You're digging now too.
No. I'm saying I go to charitable events, show up, we do something good for kids or something.
Right.
Make that part of it. Guys,
Larry, are you sure your beer is non-alcoholic?
It's non-alcoholic.
Okay, just checking. You didn't dip into the other one by mistake, right?
Larry is already angling on finding out, well, when's this happening? I'll just happen to fly in. We'll be bumping into Larry in downtown Philly. Oh, look who's here.
Well, we're planning a trip to New York, by the way, for Manopause. So when we're there, if you're there, we're going to want to do a more live one than this, if we can.
If you're there not writing your second novel, then we will come in and bug you. We'll knock on your door or your window. We'll get your puppy. We'll say, hey, come on, come with us. We're going to go down the street and have some more Sammy Hagar.
Listen, if you need me, Paulina, if you need me to get the dates quietly so you can make sure you're not in New York when they're coming, or just go over across the line to Jersey and hide out in Short Hills at the mall, something for a while until they're out of town. I could help.
Okay. Well, David, we're gonna have to secretly communicate so you don't know anything about it.
We will actually, because that's who we are. We will send you his email because I know you're going to have questions for him. I do. When I do anything I'm writing, I always ask him.
I love talking about writing.
And
look, just so you know, I mean, look. I've been editor and writer my whole career. A lot of times when you came up through small newspapers, if you were like the best writers on staff, they often made you into the editors because a lot of the writers weren't good. So they needed, you never knew it till you became an editor and you'd see other people and you go, oh my God. So I've done both, but let me tell you, when you're out of it for a while, even getting back into it with these guys, you have to get into the rhythm of it again. And I'm enjoying it. You know why? Because I feel like I'm getting better again. I'm improving at it again as you get sharper. I talk to Larry and Mike all the time because they're funny. They have a sense of humor. And I like to get ideas. I get a lot of ideas from bouncing things off other people. And I've even had Larry and these guys point out little things. Well, that could be a column. And we just did one on, what was it? Marital commands disguised as requests.
Right.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
Yes.
You should read his stuff. It's very funny.
I have to. It sounds really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on manopause.com. It's on the front page. Takes you right to his page, and it's funny stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm totally gonna
I'm willing to come to New York. We can be, I tell you what, I'm even willing to be photographed in a coffee shop talking to you about writing, and you can send it to I'll just send it to all my friends.
Oh, okay.
Just casually. Hey guys, real casual. Hey, how's everybody doing? Just hanging here talking about writing with Paulina Porizkova. How you doing today? What are you doing?
We'll send that to Kate too, which will be good. Kate's his wife, by the way.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, what's in it for me?
I'll help you sell that book.
Okay.
So, Paulina, what's next? What's next? So you're on a TV show, you're writing, you've got a novel out that I just found out 15 years later, you've got your book of essays. What's next?
You know what? That's a really good question, Mike. I have no idea, but David seems to have some really good ideas.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
He's an idea.
Hey, I will say this, and Larry knows that just because of the PGA Tour book, I'm connected with some women's golf groups here in DC who the book you're talking about, your book of essays, they love stuff like that. And when I say they're golf events, they're more modern golf events. They're often shopping events with golf simulators held at the PGA Superstore. They're pretty cool. And so stuff like that's good connections to make because, they would be into that, buying that book.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and also my audience really is, I think, women in mature women. That's who I like to connect with.
Yeah.
So, that sounds good.
What do you consider a mature woman, by the way? What age is a mature woman?
guess like mid-40s and up, I would say.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
What do you guys think? What do you think a mature woman?
I think you're right. I think mid-40s and up.
The harder
That's kind
question
of
is,
like middle-agey, right?
the much more
Yeah.
difficult question is, how old is the mature man?
Well,
Ooh.
we know the answer
And
to
that is a
that.
trick question.
Yes.
Everybody knows that's that one has no answer.
That's true. That's true. That's true. But again, with
Great answer.
writing, I think it sounds to me like it's something that you should pursue, and I think.
You think?
Well, and the reason is I mean, they always say,
Since you're doing it anyway.
yeah, well, then they always say kind of write what you know, and a lot of stuff. I mean, even just the experience you just had and stuff.
Just
You could get,
And how you grew up.
out of that.
You
Right.
know,
and how you grew up.
when we were talking at the beginning when you came on and you told us a little bit about your childhood, I was like, oh my God, really? You went through that. And I know, it's kind of, that's a great story. It's not a great, it's a good story to tell.
I'm sorry, Mike, don't mean to interrupt. But yeah, I just actually wrote an opinion piece for the LA Times about growing up in a communist country being occupied by Russia. And that the real danger of occupation is not what, most of us Americans think. It's, bread lines or sort of hardship, everybody wearing gray clothing or whatever. But the true danger of occupation is that you don't have freedom of thought, never mind speech. You don't have freedom of thought, because if you happen to think something contrary to what the regime tells you, and you happen to utter it in a moment, while at home and at the sink, your child overhears you. You've been raised to report anyone to the authorities if anyone says anything negative, such as right now in Russia. If you call the war a war,
Mhm.
that's actually a criminal offense.
Wow.
So I was trying to write about like the perspective of a small child, where I fully 100% believed that the Russians were our best friends. My greatest dream was to see Lenin in his casket. That was like that's all I ever wanted out of life, and to be a pioneer, which is the communist version of a Girl Scout, I guess. And when my mother came to kidnap me, and there's a whole like long story about that, but she brought with her sort of an influx of the world from the outside, and it was a really difficult time for a child, for me to try to assimilate. And here's my mom, who once in a while will say something like, fuck the Russians, and I'm supposed to go to school and give her up, tell them that my mother is saying bad things. And it's like, you live with this constant fear that like you're not doing the right thing, and it's this like constant oppression of the mind, and it's a not a wonderful way to grow up. And this is what is happening in Russia right now. Propaganda. I mean, most Russians believe that that Putin is doing the right thing because that's what they're fed.
Yes.
How long did it take you to be able to unload that mindset?
That's an amazing story, because what you just said is to talk about it in the past tense. So few people ever leave it behind.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and at the same time, I mean, I see this in my life as a journalist. So few people in the United States who've had this done to them and I'm not picking any particular ideology. There's several that do it. They don't think it's been done to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
They will argue with you just like you would have.
Yeah.
And you're a rare story. And I would love to hear, how did you get, deprogrammed?
Well, I was taken from Czechoslovakia to Sweden, and as a child, I had been told that all of the West, United States, or anything that was not in our communist little part of the world, was basically like, you ever see the movie Escape from New York with Kurt Russell?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like that. It's just like, everything is like dripping with dirt and there's people with guns jumping out from behind garbage to gun you down, and it's
That part's true, but
Yeah.
well, yeah, but if you live in New York, but
right.
otherwise, but so we were indoctrinated that this was the West, and then we got to Sweden, and I was 10 years old, and I looked around and I went, this is not anything like what I was told. And they have bananas all year instead of only one.
That's so funny because it's exactly a lot of people say one of the first things you notice is food.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And then, first you notice the food, then you notice that everything is really clean and nobody's gunning anybody down. And then you notice that you don't have to report anybody in school, which is, which took a while. I think I kept trying to report kids for various offenses, and everybody was kind of like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Well, we now know your next book.
Well,
I think we just talked about it, and now that's your next book.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about writing a story of my childhood. Yeah,
that story is so appropriate for our times.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it really is.
Sadly.
Yeah.
Because what we're seeing now is there's a way with the technology is available to everybody, and there's all kinds of ways for these channels to just keep going, and they're all over. It's amazing how many times you can put any subject into Google. It's amazing how many websites will come up that are actually affiliated in some way or another with something else and pumping out information.
Disinformation.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as a journalist, David, and this kind of fascinates me too. You're supposed to report on facts, right? I mean, this is not unless you're writing a direct opinion piece,
Right.
you're supposed to be, what do you call it? Neutral, and just report facts. Is that always easy to stay within those boundaries?
No, because I'll give you an example. When I was in Louisiana, David Duke was running for governor. So sometimes being factual and being very fair isn't necessarily going to make him look good. I mean, the guy had birthday parties celebrating Hitler's birthday at his house. There's probably no way you can report that about somebody and have that be viewed in a positive way. And his support, and so that happens. I mean, and I think that there's an expectation sometimes that you should be saying equal good and bad things about both parties, right? Whatever good things you say about the other, the bad things, you got to do the same thing with the other. Well, but that wouldn't be factual because people do perform in different ways in life, and so, journalists take a lot of heat. A lot of them probably are lean left of center, but a lot of them don't. And a lot of them are very much common sense people. There's a large core of common sense people in the U.S. who don't really get heard from that much because you hear from the vocal sides on the extremes of either party.
Yeah.
And they try to get it right. But, that is, I will tell you, the thing that's changed the most to me is when they brought the economics of it, the business of it into the newsroom and had the reporters starting to get paid based on getting clicks rather than the quality of what they're informing. And because let's be honest, you say you're going to do that, you are automatically going to the lowest common denominator of news.
Yeah.
The most sophomoric, dumbest stuff, fun, things that make people look stupid or breakups. And it's going to be that because, those are what people read. I was always amazed when I was at work, you see the traffic on these stories spike. I'm like, always during the day, I'm like, does anyone have a job out there? Is anyone working? How are these people just clicking on all these inane articles all day long? But that change I did see. And I think when you try to start ranking things in a newsroom based on clicks, well, you're going to build in that kind of behavior into the culture of the place. And then the other side of it is it becomes like a hamster wheel. You run the traffic up as much as you can each day, and you do it again the next day. It changed that business entirely in terms of what journalists were thinking about when they come to work.
Well, and the fascinating thing about all this, as we wind this down, is that your timing, Paulina, could not be better with the life experience you've had, and the drama that we're going through in the world right now, which is not going to end anytime soon, having your kind of experience and learning curve and the ability to have been deprogrammed from thinking a certain way, I think there's a lot for you to write about on that subject.
Man, oh man.
And important stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
You know
thanks for my new idea.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm so glad I brought this up. I mean, did you notice the mood went woo, boom?
No, this is important stuff, and I know.
I mean, we were laughing and everything, and all of a sudden, this isn't funny, and nor should it be.
But it's a great
It's a very serious thing, and thank you for sharing it, because it's important for everybody to hear this. It really is.
The details of what you thought when you were little would be
a great article.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it already is an article.
Good. There you go. So what we're gonna do a couple things. We're gonna end this.
All right.
Not forever. I'm sure Paulina will be back, and we'll have more to talk about. We're also going to do more research next time, and hopefully we will have read all of her books and know the titles to them at that point in time. But thank you, Paulina, again.
Hey, don't feel badly, because Mike hasn't read really anyone's novel.
That's true.
Yeah, I think that was mentioned early on. Oh,
Yeah,
look, you have the Midnight. You'll never read that.
I read it already. I love it.
Who made you read it? Who made you read it?
You
did.
Wife. It's his wife. Oh
No, Larry did. Larry did.
His other wife.
Have you read it, by the way?
I read more than.
You have to read that. It's really good.
Of course, I read it.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry.
That's why she knew it right away.
That's the other thing I wanted to bring up real quick for everybody who's listening is the Manopod.com book club will be coming in June of 2022. So if you're watching this 10 years in the future, you already know that. But it's going to feature unique, interesting books that are appropriate for our age group and intellect. And of course, it will be completely wrong for us not to have Paulina's new book, for sure, as part of our book club. And we will go back and go to that secondhand bookstore and find the other book.
Model Summer?
We can show it to everybody.
Very good, Mike. Very good.
Yeah.
No, that will not be appropriate for menopause. It's a coming of age of a young girl. I don't think
the first one, you mean?
That's the first.
Well, there's probably a certain element that follows us that might find that very appropriate. But no, you're certainly your second book of essays. Don't forget, we have 40% of our followers are women, so they're going to be very interested in your book. So once it's published, we want to get it. We'll do a review, or you can even do the review for us.
I think I should do the review myself. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, and we'll put that up. Yeah, we'll put that up.
I'll totally review it. I think
there you go.
Give it to David. But
there we go.
This has been fantastic. I think that'd be great to do. And
yeah.
Paulina's like totally interesting and a regular person too. It's
right.
Oh, thank you, David. You're a pretty regular person too. Even if you didn't walk in as one.
That was Pimp Davey.
Well, anyways, thanks again, Paulina. Thanks, David. And we will talk to both of you soon. We really appreciate you doing this.
All right. Thank you. That's
Take
great.
care. Have a good night.
Nice to meet you, David.
Right.
Bye, you guys. Bye,
Bye.
Mary.
Bye.